Problems with the lights. We're going to try to do our best to get through the show. So I've talked with the cast. They really want to go ahead with it. If the lights should go out, just please remain in your seats, and we will continue working, and they'll keep going. So you'll have the audio at least for the show. And as they say, the show must go on, right? So that's what we're going to do today. Thank you for being here. We'll get started in just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for attending our performance. So that everyone will enjoy the show, please take a moment to be sure that there will be no distractions. Please turn off your cell phone or other electronic devices that could potentially create noise or light. Please silence noisy rappers, squeaky chairs, and small children. We welcome your participation and laughter. However, if there is a distracting noise during the performance, please feel free to turn and glare at the offending person or persons. Taking video or flash photographs is prohibited and punishable by disgruntled actors and a short, angry director. Thank you.
This play is based on the interviews by the members of our theater company shortly after the incidents at Manatee, California in February of 2018. Those interviews were filmed. Tonight's performances are based on those interviews, as well as unavailable primary sources, including letters, newspaper articles, recordings, and security camera footage.
Should I start?
We're already rolling.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start off with the story. When I was younger, way before I got involved with law enforcement, I had this idea. I wanted to be an artist, and this was New York. I lived in a 5th floor walk-up, tiny studio. I wanted to be a painter, so I'd wait tables during the day, and I'd stay up late doing watercolors. I'd stay up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. This was how I noticed I had this neighbor. His alarm would go off at 3:30, and he'd say, "Not again." Then at exactly 4:15, I'd hear him fumble with his lock and start down the stairs. But I never saw him. One night, I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to see who this guy was. So I crept to my own front door. It had a peephole about this big, and a metal plate to slide away, to look through. I flicked off my light and pressed myself against the door, and I screamed. An involuntary scream that just comes out, a real scream. It's very different, not a movie scream. It was like, "Ah!" So I scream and fall back against my bathroom door. Huge commotion as I hit the ground. 'Cause what had happened was, I looked through, and there was an eye. He was looking at me. I'm on the floor, and I just freeze. Finally, I hear him pick up his keys and descend down the stairs. Now, I had to see what this guy looked like. So I picked myself up, pressed myself against the door, and there was that eye again. It was mine. It was the reflection of my own eye. That's the most scared I've ever been. And it was just me scaring me. The only other time I heard what a real scream sounded like was when 241 people hit it all at the same time. I told the story to Candelaria, and she said, "You're missing part of the lesson. It was mostly about being scared." But what was the first thing you did? You flicked off the light. People are naturally scared of the dark.
I was 8, I lived in a house in Dunbar, North Carolina. It was just about a quarter of a mile from Kendall Avenue, the main shopping street. It was a tall house, and from my bedroom, keep going. It was a tall house, and from my bedroom I could see a billboard. It was an ad for Diet Coke. 2 guys and a girl clowning around, but exaggerated. They were posing for each other. I loved that billboard. To me, it was a picture of infinity. Models acting like people, acting like models. It was the first time I encountered recursion. Something that bends back into itself, that refers to itself, and so becomes a loop. My name is Candelaria Ortiz, and when the incident at the Oak Box happened, they were trying to understand it from every angle. Criminal, biological, psychological, and philosophical. That's why they brought me in.
I have this picture. We were on our way to church one day, and everyone looked so nice that I lined us up on a timer and took one. Me with my arms squeezing all 3 of them. And before I could take another one, I looked and it was a miracle shot. The Hail Mary of impromptu photos. So I had it printed, 8 by 10, and put it in a frame. The frame though, that little cardboard leg that balances it, broke. So instead of using that, I leaned it against the wall on top of a cabinet. That night, all 3 kids were headed out to the play, and I had noticed it had slid down, so I had to pick it up again. So, a moment of grace, as they walked out that door, I looked at that picture.
Manitap isn't a town anybody out of Amador County has ever heard of. But everybody's surprised at how beautiful it is. Once you get off 234, it's all green and rolling hills. Most people's jobs have to do with parsley farming. Not a lot of people think about it, but there are parsley farms. Big ones. Not a lot of people move here, but not a lot of people leave. They like it because it's peaceful and safe.
My wife had pink eye, so I went to go pick up my friend Harlan. And when I got there, he goes, "You're just in time. My kitchen sink's a disaster." I'm a contractor, not a plumber. But I said, okay. And then after 5 minutes, I said, "It's either the clog or the show. Are you okay blowing off the show?" And he said, "Sure. Did we get a quick drink?" And I said, "Okay, but we can pretend we went to the show."
So I'm brand new to this job. I mean, it's my 4th day ever as a child. And I really want to do a good job, but I can already tell that I'm not. And it's stupid things too. Like, why are there 2 conference rooms with the same name? The fax machine. Do you press 9? Do you not press 9? And people are not, just edit this out please. People are not as nice to me as I would be in their situation. I can't even tell where the paper goes in this fax machine.
It was a printer.
So, I'm thinking, how can it get any worse? Then the incident happens, and it just gets worse, and worse, and worse.
Me and Mary Riggle were sitting on the ridge below the oat box talking of the world. And there was this crazy loud sound. It was like a foghorn or something. I thought it came from the oat box, but Mary said it was part of the play.
I'm a forensic engineer. If a bridge collapses, or a dam gives way, or people get trapped in a fire, it's my job to figure out what went wrong. Some of the cases are famous, like the Hartford Circus Fire in 1944 killed 168 people. The Great White Fire in 2003 killed 100. One of the things you pay attention to is what happened with the doors. There was a fire, a famous fire in Chicago in 1903. The Iroquois Fire. It was right after Christmas. And so all the kids were out of school and the theater was filled with families, all 3 levels, and you could stand in your room on 2nd. A curtain caught on fire, and what happened was, the first people to reach the doors realized half a second too late that the doors opened in. The people behind them panicked, crowded them, so they couldn't get the doors open because they were pressed with the hinges going the wrong way. When you look at a door that's trapped people, you'll find scuff marks halfway up the door because the impulse is to kick. If there's one more time, you'll find dents, sometimes big ones, or somebody got a fire extinguisher or a dresser, something heavy. But the incident at the Hope Box, I've never seen anything like it. Just looked at those doors and thought, what the hell?
I get home, and my wife runs out the door and she throws her arms around me. I have no clue what's going on, but it's clear I shouldn't say, oh, we were at the play, and then we grabbed a quick drink afterwards. She told me to look at the news. I'm expecting Channel 2, but she turns on CNN.
I wasn't surprised that they could find me, but I was surprised that they thought to look. My name is Rickenach Vaino. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota. I study theater.
"911, what is your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
I'm sending someone. More than one. There's cars already on the way. What's your name, Chica?"
Angela.
"Andrew. I'm sending them to the Oak Box. Is that right?
Yes.
And there's a play tonight. A high school is doing a school play. Is that where you are?
Yeah.
In the theater.
Yes.
And somebody's hurt?
Everybody.
Who's that again? Where are you in the theater?"
I'm just standing on the stage.
Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
None of it made any sense. All of a sudden, this tiny town is the site of a tragedy that nobody's ever seen or heard of. 241 people fall unconscious while watching a high school play that the program tells us is called Track. We only had a few events for the timeline. We know that the people are fine at 11 after 8 because that's when the usher texts her older brother to pick her up after the show. Then she goes into the theater and turns off her phone. At 9:10, two kids sitting on a ridge below the theater hear what they think is a foghorn, but they just assume it's part of the play. And at 9:22, we get the 911 call. A girl named Angela Lord, who it turns out is the only one still conscious. When we finally get her out of there, she won't talk. She either doesn't know what happened, or she's too scared to say it.
The Oak Box was international news. I was hiking in the hills near Clovis, New Zealand when I heard about it. People falling unconscious. In a theater, that was key. I had conflicting thoughts. I thought, how horrible. And then I thought, there it is. There's our proof.
I didn't hear about it till morning, when it was on every channel. I got that weird feeling you get, you know, when you see something on TV that happened right in your neighborhood. The Oak Box, again. There's no way this was a coincidence. I remember hearing people say that was 73 years ago. But I remember thinking, I don't care if it was 73 years ago. Two tragedies, one theater, there's gotta be a connection.
Menachep Herald, March 19, 1946. Bond Measure 2A, funding to build a new theater palace on Semper Bluff passed with 54% of the vote. According to Mayor Roger Wegman, we plan to use this money to build a building that will attract visitors to Menachep from all over the country. The search for an architect is set to begin immediately.
From architect Brand Hillock's winning bid for the Menachep Theater project. Theaters have soaring spaces, fly spaces, where the scenery can be pulled up out of view. My plan extends the metaphor of flight throughout the building. At the sides, half arches will rise like wings lit from within. My hope is that the building will be known far and wide as the Menachep Angel.
Menachep Herald, April 1st, 1947. Ground was broken yesterday on the Menachep Angel, our city's 700-seat theater. Mayor Roger Wegman overturned the ceremonial first shovelfuls of earth and then declared that the new theater will be a boon for our economy and even more for our spirits.
Letter from Normal Height to Adelaide Height, April 3rd, 1947. My dear sister, I miss you. I miss you, and there's nobody anywhere in Menachep I can tell this to. I'm disgusted with myself. I had Jonathan all to myself for 3 hours and said nothing. Nothing. We had dinner at Chauncey's free room, but it was somber. Jonathan's been quiet ever since Pat moved to San Francisco. why do men have so few friends? He didn't talk, and all I could think of to talk about was the question. I wasn't brave enough to ask him.
Menachap Herald, April 4th, 1947. 3 days in, construction halted on the Menachap Civic Theater. According to Foster Willingham, chief engineer, synoptic techniques have shown that the granite bedrock on Semper Bluff is twice as thick as previously believed. Our plans call for dressing rooms below ground, as well as stage machinery, including trapdoors. This delay would be a few weeks at most.
Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, May 25th, 1947. He said yes. Adelaide, I can't begin to tell you how happy I am. Saturday night, we walked out on the bluff and stared out at the lights of the ships. And when he turned around, I got down on one knee and held up Granddad's wedding band. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What does it look like I'm doing?" "That's not how it's done." I said, "Jonathan, we're going to be married for at least 50 years. No one needs to know how it began." Adelaide, I feel lit from within, electrified. Although this time I promise not in a bad way. Must rush off. The Crowleys are coming over, so I have to buy a new sofa.
Menachap Herald, May 31st, 1947. Local boy vanishes. 10-year-old Marcus Tumble was reported missing by his parents Tuesday night after he disappeared during a family picnic. He was playing hide-and-go-seek with his cousins, said his father Guillermo, when he went on the beach below Semper Bluff and he didn't come back. Marcus is 5 feet, 4 inches tall, was wearing white shorts and a long black sweater. He is missing a front tooth.
Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 2nd, 1947. And my apologies for not being clearer on the topic of the Crowleys and the sofa. Last week I was certain that Jonathan would rebuff my proposal. It drove me positively frenzied. The morning before I proposed, I was alone in the house. So I banged the south wall of the living room with my shoe. I did it again, and again, and again, and again, until I was calm. Thankfully, the sofa arrived just in time, and I was able to blame the movers for the dents in the wall.
Menachap Herald, June 5th, 1947. Yesterday, by a vote of 5 to 4, the Board of Supervisors authorized new blueprints for the Menachap Civic Theater. According to Board Supervisor Zed Orenthal, we had no choice given our updated understanding of the geology of the bluff. We've had to abandon the idea of wings.
Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 7, 1947. My dear sister, every moment of every day is the happiest time of my life. The only shadow is that it's so easy to tip Jonathan into silence. He was so quiet after I made a joke about the kills he was wearing for the Scottish festival. But then yesterday I said, "Darling, please don't misconstrue this, but I'm glad your business failed. Finally, you're all mine."
Los Angeles Times, September 2nd, 1947. For the first time in history, the residents of the placid farming community of Menachap, California are locking their doors. The disappearance of 10-year-old Marcus Tumble has unsettled this town an hour and a half north of Santa Barbara. Marcus disappeared while at a family reunion beneath an area called Semper Bluff. In the absence of plausible natural reasons, residents are looking at each other warily. Marcus's mother, Thea, finds it suspicious that he should go missing the day of the Scottish festival. All these men we've never seen before walking all over town wearing dresses. The police say there's no evidence, but I don't need evidence.
Menachap Herald, September 24, 1947. Man in custody. Police on Tuesday announced that they have taken in a suspect in the disappearance of Marcus Tumble. The suspect in custody is 33-year-old
Jonathan! September 24th. Adelaide, they put Jonathan into jail. It's unbelievable. They're saying he had something to do with the 10-year-old boy who went missing. It's ridiculous. They won't even tell me why they suspect him.
Letter from Gandermain Esquire to Sampson Bonet Esquire. The trial proceeds well. On the stand, Mrs. Tumble pointed to a scratch on the float ring found in Mr. Molluska's furnished room. She then positively identified it as the one belonging to her son, Marcus Tumble. But she is not our only ally. Watch the jury as they watch Miss Pike. When her fiancé grimaces, she grimaces. When he looks downcast, so does she. She impeaches herself as a character witness. She'll be desperate to testify on his behalf. We must not appear too eager.
Excerpt from the transcript of the trial at the courthouse by the sea. Cross-examination of Jonathan Mullis.
So this float ring that I'm holding here, you claim to have picked it up on the beach, is that correct?
Yes.
And why would you do that?
I don't know, I just did.
Were you afraid you might drown?
Laughter in the courtroom.
Objection.
Sustained.
So on the afternoon of May 30th, the afternoon that Marcus Tumble disappeared, you claim to have been taking a long walk, a 4-hour walk on the beach, is that correct?
Yes.
And were you in the habit of taking such walks?
No.
Had you ever taken such a walk?
No.
Did anyone see you?
It was a weekday afternoon.
Ah, you work at Momsey Limited, shipping and transcription, as a typist, is that correct?
Yes.
And how long has that been your place of employment?
3 weeks.
3 weeks? Yet you felt comfortable taking 4 hours off?
I needed to think about the world and my place in it.
So you took this break without telling anyone?
I wrote a note saying I wasn't feeling well.
Ah, who did you give this note to?
I meant to give it to my supervisor, Mr. Clark, but I found it later in my own pocket.
Manager Herald, November 5th, 1947. Verdict announced, swift justice. After deliberating for only 5 hours, the Jonathan Mullis jury declared him guilty on account of kidnapping, as well as guilty on account of murder. There was a commotion in the first row when Mullis' fiancée began to wail so loudly she had to be forcibly removed from the courtroom. But the murderer was never to spend 1 minute behind bars. In an extraordinary scene, the boy's father and 3 armed men rushed the bailiff as they made their way from the courthouse by the sea to the transports. They then dragged Mr. Mullis into the ocean and held him under until he was still. Eyewitnesses accounted that this seemed to confirm Mullis' guilt, as he may not have moved to free himself and allowed himself to be held under without a struggle. Menachak Herald, November 17, 1947. Body of child found. Construction workers at the site of the Civic Theater uncovered the body of a child. Authorities have confirmed that the body is 10-year-old Marcus Tumble. He was found beneath the steel trapdoor of the long-delayed theater. It's a 1 in a million tragedy, said construction supervisor Clifton Ailes. The theater was sealed for safety, but one of the lower windows had come unlatched. He must have crawled in. From there, he seems to have appeared inside a still shallow trapdoor. When the heavy door fell shut, he wouldn't have had a chance. Menachak Herald, February 1st.
Los Angeles Times, February 2nd.
Time Magazine, February 7th.
The opening night to our Civic Theater was home to one of the most extraordinary spectacles ever witnessed by this community.
The long-awaited opening of the Menachak Civic Theater will long be remembered.
3 months after the discovery of the body of a boy found underneath
The tragedy known to every member of our town.
the opening of the theater was finally underway.
The night drenched in a sun's squall, the capacity audience stashed away their umbrellas and shook off their coats, eager to put the events of the past few months out of their heads.
The audience watched, rapt, as Medea, passionately played by Broadway actress Maya Rasmussen, called her children to her breast one final time. But as Medea wailed her vengeance, Norma Pike, fiancé of the unfortunately accused Jonathan Mullis, entered the theater, dressed in all blue.
Less a dress than a costume.
Dressed like the ocean.
She held aloft a glass,
Tall and blue, full of liquid.
Held it high like a torch and proclaimed,
Welcome to the theater. Your theater.
most of the audience would later report that they believed her to be part of the performance.
This ugly box of a theater will become famous, but not in the way you would hope. No one will ever think of this dank shell of oak without thinking of the 3 people who died because of it. The boy is so completed. The man murdered because of the boy. And the woman who cursed the building for all time by drowning.
Some looked away, the rest wished they had.
She brought the glass to her mouth, tipped it back, and
Poured it straight into her throat.
Aspirated the entire contents of the glass.
swallowed without swallowing.
Her eyes bore into the audience until they went dark, and she fell dead to the floor.
In front of 700 people, Norma Pike drowned herself with a glass of seawater.
Page 71 of Haunted California by Naomi Sanderson. In the years since the triple tragedy, dozens of people, moonlit sweethearts, schoolboy daredevils, have looked up at a single mica window in the theater lobby and seen a figure, Sometimes it's a boy, trapped, afraid. Other times it's the outline of a man, eyes closed, resigned. But on the rare occasion that storm chasers are overrun, drenched, the figure illuminated by the lightning flash is a woman. She holds up a sea blue goblet and smiles. An invitation. Drink with me.
After the oak box incident, one thing we wanted to know was why Minichap? Why the oak box? My theory is that they might have chosen a place where a fear was built in just by being in the building. Everybody in town knows the story of Norma Pike. It's a local tragedy. And on impulse, really, I Googled scary theaters. It was the top result. 4 terrifying theaters. Princess Theatre, Melbourne, Australia. Manila Film Center, SA City, Philippines. Drury Lane, London. And there it was. 4 out of 4. The Oak Box, Minichap, California. I got chills because I realized that's how they found the Oak Box.
It was that Sunday morning, 18 hours after the Oak Box incident. 236 audience members and 5 members of the cast on the ground, breathing, thank God. But 2 mysteries. What happened to these people? That was the main question, of course, and second were the doors. How do we make sense of those doors?
Could you tell us your name, please?
I'm Ashley Lenzer. I'm the Chief Forensic Engineer with the California Department of Infrastructure.
Esther Salas. I'm a firefighter with Station 41, Manachap County.
Isa Fuente, neurobiologist at UC Berkeley.
I was the first person in the theater that night. I saw the girl on the stage. I'm the one who carried her out. Before I picked her up, she said the thing we couldn't figure out. 4 words.
The first thing I noticed about the bodies was the absence of what's called relative resonance. It's the tendency of people who know each other in tragic situations to cluster. After a fire, you'll find friends holding each other or a parent who wrapped around a child. But the bodies at the Oak Box were different. People who weren't related sometimes fell on top of each other. People who loved each other in life sprawled in different directions.
Theater camera 1.
What about this girl, Sarah West? She was almost to the door. Was she leaving early?
No. Look at the way she fell. She was running.
And she's wearing earbuds. She wasn't paying attention to the play.
Can you tell me what she was listening to?
It's a classical. Gymnopedy number 1.
Gymnopedy number 1 by Eric Satie.
Yeah.
Something else is strange, Nish. Something wrong?
I didn't realize you knew my name.
Oh. What do you notice that's strange about the positions of the bodies?
The programs. So many people are holding them.
That's what I noticed too.
Holding them like this. Like they've been trying to read them up until the last second.
It was the speed that threw me. What could overcome that many people that fast? Maybe an electrical impulse or some kind of gas had overcome them. We scoured the ventilation system. There was nothing.
I was in the theater a lot. I wanted to spend time with them.
I said to the fireman, any thoughts on what could have overcome these people so fast?
How do you know it was fast?
Of course it was fast.
That's when they brought me in. Figuring out how long a body has been unconscious is actually not that hard to do if you have the right equipment. When a person loses consciousness, their body temperature drops by 2.5 degrees. That takes a while. So we touched electrodes to their foreheads, microthermometers. What we found was a surprise, to say the least.
It didn't make any sense.
The first to fall was Paul Schmidt in C813. then Anna Strahan, 3 rows back, in D41. The first 26 people to lose consciousness fell one by one.
I said, are you sure of this?
Theater camera 1, continuous.
I'm positive. Look at this. It's the seating chart for the oak box. A13, D41, what do you notice?
Nothing.
Next was F42.
So, front row, aisle, and then the other stuff you had?
Then Lilas Roget, L19.
The back of row L is horizontal to the aisle in the middle. So it started at the front, the back, and the sides.
Exactly. It works that way until the 26th person, Franklin James.
I know Frank.
Whatever this was, it started at the edges and worked its way in, like something cooking.
This doesn't seem like a natural phenomenon. It seems like attackers.
Agreed.
241 people fall unconscious, like they've been snuck up on. Which doesn't make any sense because I could see every other person falling over. I don't see how humans could do this.
Meaning what?
I'm not sure.
Hey, can you guys shut up for a second? Did you hear that? There.
I don't hear anything.
There. I lived in Alaska till I was 10, so I have really good hearing. Your ears are always covered. It's like a chirp. Again, over there. The bodies are making a sound.
Which bodies?
All of them.
On Sunday morning, we had 2 mysteries. On Sunday afternoon, we had 3. What happened to these people? What were the sounds Esther was hearing? And again, the doors. Those people had 45 minutes to leave, and those doors were wide open.
Officials are baffled today by events in a small Californian town.
And our top story tonight, the mystery.
Un evento misterioso.
On Monday morning, I put out footage. By noon, we've gotten messages from 5 continents. I pulled investigators from other counties to check every single lead.
I got the slush pile. It was bigger than all of the cases combined, and it had more crazy than I knew was in the world.
I read a book once about intelligent
Stop putting those dead people on
Is
TV.
it moving at all? Are
Stop
they
putting those
twisting?
dead bodies on TV. It disturbs me.
My name's Jasper, so you know you can trust
I'll help you if you'll help me.
Something just like this.
I recognize the one on the left. That must have been one boring play. Transcript of a call from Seattle, Washington to the Oak Box Hotline, October 7th, 7:32 p.m.
Oak Box Hotline.
Hello, my name is Malcolm J. I'm a professor at the University of Washington. What I'm about to tell you will sound a little crazy.
Uh-huh.
Is this a secure line?
Yes, why?
I'm going to tell you something, but you have to promise not to hang up on me.
I can't promise that.
You have a theater full of victims who have fallen unconscious.
Yes.
And by now, you've probably figured out that they were attacked, one by one.
How do you know that?
I think you're dealing with something called Faranox.
Faranox? What are Faranox?
Let's start with what they are, which is human.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up now.
Are all of your victims still alive?
Yes?
They won't be if you hang up. You have less than a week before their hearts begin to stop.
Faranox.
They look human, but they aren't human.
Why haven't I heard of these things?
Hello? Hello? Is somebody there? Sorry. You haven't heard of these things because they don't want you to, and because the attacks are rare. Faranox are like locusts. They attack every 16 years. The last attack was in Ghostbeck, Scotland in 2003, and then an attack in Iceland 16 years before that, and then 16, and then 16. This is a swarming behavior. These creatures attack, mate, and then they all die. All except one. A caretaker that watches over the larvae as they grow. Which means all Faranox are 16 years old, except one.
Okay, thank you. I've made notes of your call, and I'll get back to you if necessary.
Were there an unusually high number of new students at Menachop High School this year?
Yes?
And at least one teacher?
The theater teacher.
What happened to the old one?
She died.
Suddenly, with no apparent cause.
Yeah. Why wouldn't anyone else have put these things together?
Ah!
What?
Nothing. My house must have blown a fuse. I can't see a thing. There are four of us trying to hunt the Faranox, and at the same time, the Faranox are hunting us. Of course, they have the advantage.
Which is what?
They know for sure that we exist.
Who are the other three scientists hunting them?
There's a zoologist in Colombia named Keita Muguruza, and an evolutionary biologist named Melissa Tang, and a professor at the University of Minnesota. He studies fear. Who's there? Who's there?
Then I heard a click.
Call ends at 7:37.
I tried to call back, but the call wouldn't go through. I sat in the call room thinking I had a choice to make. I could either march into Sergeant Brock's office and say, I know this sounds crazy, but I might be onto something. Or I could move on to the next call. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I believed him. But I was new at work, and I was already screwing up. I moved on to the next call.
At first, we didn't know what we were studying, hunting. As it turns out, the key had already been discovered by a Bolivian named Keita Muguruza. He and his postdoc, Emilio Penti, had won the 2015 Nobel Prize in Biology for their work.
Estábamos estudiando algo que la gente había notado durante siglos.
We were studying something people had noticed for centuries.
Se llama el enigma de la huella negra.
When an insect gets caught in the black widow's web, the spider doesn't attack right away. Instead, it follows a particular, almost ritualized pattern of movement. The struggling moth knows something approaches. Slowly, the widow moves herself into view. Large, black, shiny. The insect panics, jerking the web up and down. The spider lifts her forelegs, revealing a blood-red hourglass. Adrenaline flows from the moth into the web. The strands are drenched in the insect's terror, and the widow bathes in it.
It's a brilliant evolutionary strategy because it's a way to get nourishment from a different part of the animal. Every other predator on the planet feeds on the meat of its prey. These creatures subsist on the powerful chemicals secreted by animals who are terrified. They feed on fear.
A creature that feeds on fear has a different hunting strategy than one that feeds on flesh. If terror is what sustains you, you have to create it. And so Faranox don't chase their prey, they trap it.
The Venus flytrap and the black widow are the two most famous Faranox, a plant and arachnid. But then there was an evolutionary jump.
The idea that a species of Faranox might be capable of mimicking humans was so hard to get over that we had to take a step back and ask not, how could this happen, but why would it? Why would it be worth to prey on humans when there are thousands of other animals that are easier to capture?
Evolution follows the prey. The juicier the prey, the more clever the trap. Faranox's chosen prey, their only prey, are the creatures on Earth most susceptible to fear.
Human brains evolved in a way that made them incredibly good at seeing threats on the horizon. Was that a snake in the grass or a branch? Was that sound a lion or thunder? All of this worry helped keep us alive for 100,000 years. But when we emerged from the jungle, our capacity for worry didn't go away. It just repurposed itself. So now, instead of worrying about being eaten by a tiger, we're worried about tomorrow's math test.
All the anxiety we produce is useless to us, but from a Faranox point of view, it makes us the equivalent of a large, slow-moving steak.
From the obituary for Malcolm J., Professor of Neuroscience at the University of Washington. Professor J was well-liked and well-respected. His unexpected passing has thrown a cloud over campus. Professor J is survived by his parents, Martin and Pendela J, and his grandmother, Thelma Lampkin.
Interviews Kenosha Soberling Johnson, October 5th, 8:15 a.m., 2018, Menachep High School, 2nd floor, counseling office.
And do you know why we're having this conversation?
Because of yesterday?
Can you be more specific?
Because of what happened in the woods.
Because of what you told people happened in the woods.
It happened!
You talked to a lot of people yesterday. You told them all the same story?
Yes.
Now, was this story something that you're sure is true, or is it possible that you made some of it up?
It was all true.
So that's why we're here today, Kenosha. Because that story about what happened in the woods, that story couldn't possibly have happened.
Kenosha came out of the womb perfect. But when she was 3 weeks old, she had a seizure. We were afraid we'd lose her. You could tell right away that something had changed.
I remember Kenosha's first day at Menachep because she'd gone up to the auditions board, but the string with the pencil was broken. So there was no way to put your name on it. And I said, if you want to audition, I've got a pen. And she said, my name's Kenosha R. Soberling Johnson.
So the joke very quickly went around. I don't know who said it first, that the R.
The R.
The R is to distinguish herself.
To distinguish yourself from all the other Kenosha Soberling Johnsons.
The kids at her old school could be so mean. Menachep was supposed to be a fresh start.
Thinking back, that was a bad start because you always had that in the back of your mind. You always had like a little bit of distance.
Kenosha had all the normal emotions, grief and happiness and nervousness, but they weren't wired right. Like she grimaced to say I love you. She spent her whole life studying people's expressions and she got quite good at showing the right emotion, but she was acting. It was like she was doing it phonetically. But there was one thing that she could never manage, and that was to lie. There was too much going on. What did you do with your hands? Do your eyes look up or down? She couldn't calibrate the information.
She said she couldn't go to homecoming with me because her uncle was an astronaut. I wasn't actually going to ask her, but it still made me feel bad.
I'd give her lessons. I'd say, the situation is you're 2 hours late and I've been trying to reach you. I'm frantic and I'm angry, go. She'd go blank. Now you tell me that your phone ran out of juice. And she was awful. I'd say, Kenosha, you have got to master this or you're going to have the most boring teenage years of anybody on earth.
Okay, the bench incident, it really was an accident. You know the lunch tables, they're long with these long benches, and Kenosha was sitting all alone, and I came up on the other side of her and asked if anyone was sitting there. She said no, so I picked up the bench and I moved it over to our table so we could fit more people. Of course, long term it worked in her favor, because while she was sitting all alone, that's when Clifton went over to her. Clifton? Oh, where to start?
Dang.
Clifton's kind of perfect.
I think that he's really nice.
Kind.
So sweet.
We don't have anything like homecoming queens or kings or any sort of prom royalty, but if we did, he'd be both kings.
He just walked over and asked if he could sit with her.
Was there anything that made you go over her?
There was one thing actually. The first time I met her, her phone rang, but she didn't check who it was. Then she made herself smile, and when she finally answered the phone, you could tell in her voice.
Next thing you know, I look over and they're sitting in the cafeteria, and she's making him laugh.
Most of the time she's hilarious on purpose, but not always. Once I was laughing so hard that
His head literally hits the table.
Once she said, "I like you," more than water.
I mean, you see them everywhere together. He'd laugh and put his arm around her neck.
I couldn't tell if it was romantic or not.
So it's barely a week into school, and there's the new girl standing in front of the auditions board, only the string with the pencil was broken.
I wanted to be in the play, so I did some research, and I found a really good book about acting. It's called Uta Hagen's Respect for Acting, and it's pretty famous and great. You should read it if you're interested in acting at all.
We had talked about the idea of Kenosha being involved in theater because I thought she'd be quite good. She was so good at mimicking people's emotions. I said, well, sweetheart, go for it.
Kenosha, that story that you told so many people, It made some of those people anxious. It scared them.
Did they cancel the play?
No.
Didn't scare them enough.
Why do you want the play canceled?
Something bad is going to happen.
What's going to happen? Can you tell me that?
It was really early for the fall play to be happening, but we just went with it. We figured it had something to do with the Miss Pendulum tragedy.
Marsh Pendulum was one of my best teachers. Just 2 days before the start of school, dropped dead of a heart attack. She was 38, didn't smoke, she exercised. You know how that just happens sometimes?
Kenosha came home the day of the audition and she burst through the door. I said, "How did it go?" She said, "I nailed it."
After the audition, I saw Kenosha's, and she was really good, but I said, you never know.
The next day, she calls me from school and she's talking very fast. She says, "I did not get the part." And I say, "You know, sweetheart, sometimes that happens. We don't get everything. But I was the best one." Even then, there could be all sorts of reasons. No, something's up.
The casting was pretty strange.
We were all looking at the list, like, why don't I know any of these names?
Almost every name on the list was new. Practically every kid who got a part was new that year.
When Kenosha would get too excited, she would lose her skill at imitating. So I started to hear, "Woo!" And she hung up, and I was worried something might happen.
We had the first cast meeting, and I was there to see if I could volunteer for Ted. And Kenosha comes marching in, and she starts to make some sort of announcement. And then she didn't. She started to make beeping noises.
That was a panic attack.
She fell down hard on one knee. She couldn't breathe. She actually crawled out of the room.
A person who tells a story over and over, it gets a performing aspect to it. They subconsciously know when things are getting a reaction, and the more they tell the story, the more they lean in those aspects of it. The story doesn't get so much memorized as etched.
She said, "I want to tell you a story. Please just listen."
Please just listen! Yesterday, I made it out of school, but I'd hit my left knee.
My left knee.
Right here, so I couldn't go very fast.
I was allowed to walk home on the highway. It was just as long as I faced the traffic. I looked behind me and way back, there were people, and I knew I had to get away from them.
There's that big strip of forest between the highway and the Walmart, and before I jumped into it, I looked again, and they were way closer. The forest's deep, but I cut through it all the time.
I cut through it all the time, so I knew I'd have an advantage. But when I looked back,
I got so scared.
When I looked back, I got so scared, because they turned in right after me. They wanted me in that forest, and they were fast.
All of a sudden, there was this sound, crazy
The loudest
loud.
thing I've ever heard.
Ever. I can't tell where it's coming from. I'm shaking.
I ran.
I ran faster than I could see.
And when I looked back, that was the thing that scared me more than anything ever.
One by one, their eyes lit up.
Which I know sounds crazy.
I could hear music ahead of me. I remembered there was a carnival. A mini carnival for kids in the Walmart parking lot. Just some bumper cars and a tilt-a-whirl. I could hear the screams of the 7-year-olds as they came down the dip of the kiddie coaster.
All I needed was to get to them, but when I looked back again, there weren't 3 pairs of eyes that lit up.
There were 2. Where's the other one?
And I have to choose. Do I try and make it to the parking lot carnival, or do I hide in the forest? I know I'm close, but for some reason, the scariest idea is that I almost make it, that I'm just a few feet from safety, and the third one is waiting, and he grabs me in his arms.
And I can't do it. I can't go forward. People don't naturally look up, because we have no predators in there. So I start to climb
I start
free.
climbing the live oak.
Live oak, and halfway up I freeze. The 2 of them get to me, and then the third one does. They don't see me even though they light up the ground with their eyes.
They start to argue.
They have an argument about whose fault it was. The 2 of them grab the third one, and she starts to scream, "Please, no!" They hold her head, and she says something in her ear. She whispers it, but I hear it completely clear. After she whispers it, the third one, she starts crying, and she falls over dead into the roots of the trees. What she whispers is, "Can I tell you a secret?"
Kenosha, I need you to concentrate just a little longer here. You said their eyes lit up. Could those have been flashlights?
No, I know the difference.
Have you ever heard of anyone whose eyes lit up?
No.
So is it possible that you imagined it? And if what you said happened in the woods is true, there should have been 4 sets of footprints, right? But they only found yours.
They must have erased them.
The police followed the tracks to a tree, just like you said. But there wasn't a body there.
They moved it.
And what about that sound? The sound that seemed like it was coming from everywhere?
It was a foghorn.
There are no foghorns within 200 miles.
It was a foghorn.
Foghorns are an example of a phenomenon called duotones, sounds that mean different things in a different context. In the distance, a foghorn is comforting. It tells you you're safe. But if you hear it loud, it's terrifying. If you're too close, it's too late.
After the story about the woods, Kenosha started to act strange. Like, she wouldn't go to the south wing where the theater was. Wouldn't go at all. And even to chem lab, and I would say, Kenosha, you're putting your entire chemistry grade in jeopardy. But she wouldn't go anywhere near that theater.
She started to talk bad about the play. She pulled me aside and said, "This play is like a malady." I had no idea what she meant.
She told me the play would be like a sick dog, only scarier.
She said it would leave a greenish taste in my mouth.
It's amazing she had time to go to class. She talked to over a quarter of the school.
She pulled me aside and said, "I don't think you should go to the play. Let's play charades that night."
We should have a movie night.
She said, please, please, please don't go to the play. I said, Kenosha, I'm in the play.
She was so scared to go to the play, but of course she ended up going. She thought she could save those people. My brain has an anchor, right here. It weighs down my thoughts and I can't see through it.
Please, I like you more than water.
Kenosha told everyone she saw, and told them that the play would end in horror. I knew she couldn't lie, and I still didn't believe her.
Email from Malcolm J. to Gwendolyn H. October 4th, 3 days before Malcolm J. was found dead in his study.
Farinock's a perfect replica of people. These things pass as humans everywhere. They mimic our emotions. And the only person able to detect a Farinock is someone mimicking emotions herself. And it was the girl who disappeared, Kenosha.
Email from Malcolm J. to Gwendolyn H. October 5th, 2 days before Malcolm J.'s death.
Miss H, please respond to me. When Farinock's attack, it's 99.9% fatal, like rabies. Once you're attacked, you have up to 2 weeks before your heart begins to stop. But it's going to stop. In the whole history that this has been happening, there's only been one survivor.
I was still working the slush pile, and I knew there was only one person who knew what happened in the theater. If I wanted to talk to her, I needed an angle. So I marched into Sergeant Brock's office without knocking and said, "Let me talk to the girl."
The girl's useless.
She said 4 words to the fireman, which doesn't make any sense.
She wanted out of there.
What if what she said was 4 words? She was trying to say something that someone had said. Let me talk to the girl. I can get those 4 words.
With all those bodies in the theater, it felt heavy and warm, like a greenhouse. It was 241 bodies, but they put IV tubes into all of them, so the IV bags were up here, and that's what you noticed at first. It was actually kind of beautiful because the theater was dark and those bags glowed.
She came to me and said, "I want to take some time off."
And he said, "I'm sorry, I need all hands on deck right now."
Esther said, she choked up. She said, "I know these people. I love these people."
I wanted to help out in the theater, see if I could figure out what those noises were the bodies were making. He said, "Nobody can hear those noises except you."
She said, "That's why they need me."
Menachap Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4, October 21st, 9:30 a.m.
Angela, may I come in? I'll stay over here. My name is Gwendolyn H., and I'm one of the people who's trying to figure out what happened in that theater. Does that security camera bother you? It shouldn't. There's nobody watching you. It's just there in case something were to happen, which it won't. Then they can check back later and see. I feel like I know you. Everybody I talk to. Everybody. When I mention your name, their whole voice bubbles up. They talk about your soccer and your sense of humor and that CPR class you organized. Angela, a lot of people need your help. Whatever happened at the Oak Box is still going on. I have a theory about what you said to the firemen. she heard 4 words. What I think you said was 4 words. Can you tell me which of those it was? I have a question I want to ask you.
Get away from me!
I'm sorry!
Get away! Help!
I'm sorry!
Theater Camera 1, October 25th, 2:45 a.m.
Anyway, I'll be back to check on you soon. Miss Mel, this is Esther Salas. I was in your 8th grade trigonometry class 14 years ago. I'm here to make sure you're safe and comfortable, but that's not all. I know you can hear me, and I think you're making sounds, you and everyone else in this theater. If you can make any noise, I'll hear you. I have great hearing. Try it for me. The year I was in your math class was the year those midterms got stolen off your desk before you had time to grade them. Make a note if you remember that. For me, it's a nice memory because I was one of the 6 kids who had that period free. But instead of making me a suspect, you deputized me. I was new to the school and nervous, and I never told you what that meant to me, to be trusted like that. That whole experience shaped who I wanted to be. It's part of why I fight fires. So I wanted to tell you, I did steal those tests. Hey!
Quiet.
She made the sound. Nobody heard that? Do it again, just one more time.
You gotta keep your voice down.
They can hear us.
Manachap Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4.
Thank you for seeing me again.
Answer every question. You pause more than a second, I kick you out. What's a book you read in high school English?
Hamlet.
In 15 seconds, tell me your life.
Born and raised in Indiana, thought I wanted to be an artist, so I moved out to New York. It didn't work out, but I met my husband. We moved out here to pursue law enforcement. My daughter's in 3rd grade.
6 times 8?
48.
What are you most afraid of?
Millipedes.
What's the secret?
What secret?
Tell me the secret or I kick you out.
I don't know the secret.
It was 4 words.
4 words. 4 words that someone in the theater said that night. Yes?
Yeah.
What were they? You don't have to say them. You could write them down or whisper them as soft as you want.
I'm too scared.
There's nothing here that can hurt you. Who said the words? Male or female?
A female.
Adult or student?
An adult?
What were they?
I'll tell you next time.
Give me the first one. Just give me the first word.
The.
The. First word is the. Thank you.
Theaters, Camera 3.
There are scientists in Guangzhou, China who have this therapy that seems to help with coma patients. It's a machine that makes sound waves, and it's so huge that I had to put it in a cargo plane, and it's already flying over the Pacific. And there's a group in Cape Town who are sending these drops that'll go in your eye and stimulate brain function. And all over the earth in all different ways, people are praying for you.
Esther,
Captain Donovan?
I got some bad news. The EEG results came back. None of the bodies show brain function.
No brain function they can measure.
It would register.
You're not a scientist. What if whatever happened to them hides the brainwaves?
That's not possible.
This isn't possible.
They're breathing, but they're as good as dead.
Then why are they making those noises?
Only you can hear those noises, Esther.
Because I have great hearing.
Or because you want to hear them.
I hear them!
Never shout at me.
Sorry.
It's not good for you to be here so much.
It gives me strength.
When was the last time you slept?
I don't need sleep. They're sleeping for me.
That doesn't make any sense. I don't want to lose you too.
Okay then, I'll sleep.
Manachap Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4.
Angela, I brought you something. I heard you're good. And I brought sheet music if you feel like playing. I'm gonna set it here. I'd love to hear you play. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to get close to you. I'm gonna reach my hand back here and I'm going to... There. Are you good? Not too achy to play something? How about this?
Gymnopédie, number 1 by Eric Satie. It's famous for being calming, soothing. In Europe, parents play it to their children to calm them.
Beautiful. Whenever you're ready, second word? Plays? Plays. The place. What's the third word? Let the music calm you down. Not? Good. Plays not. What's the fourth word? Over. The play's not over? Why does that scare you?
Theaters, camera 4 and 6, October 14th, 4 p.m.
Captain Donovan, I figured it out. I know what's going on.
I'm here to escort you out.
No.
Yes, Esther.
I figured it out.
We're worried about you.
Haven't you ever had that dream? Something scary's coming towards you, and you can't move, and you can't make a sound, except you can make these tiny little squeaks that people outside the dream can hear. They're trying to scream their way out of there.
Esther, you know I like you, and I think you respect me.
I do.
But you are not in your right mind.
I'm fine.
I disagree, and I'm ordering you to come with me.
They need me here.
There is no they there anymore.
I can hear them.
The debate now is when to take them off life support.
No.
The doctors made this decision.
They got it wrong.
I need you to come with me.
Or what?
Or you're fired.
I don't care about that.
No department in the country will hire you.
I'll change careers.
I'm 2 seconds away from dragging you out of here myself.
You're not big enough.
I brought deputies.
I'll slip between the bags.
Get out of this theater right now!
No.
Guys!
There are still people in those bodies. Listen to me. If you can hear me, I need you to know something. I need you to know that you are loved. This town loves you, and God loves you, and I love you. And I will not let anything happen to you, but please, help me. If you can make any noise to reach back to me, I need you to do it right now. Give me 1%, and I will reach you the other 99.
Let's go, Esther. I hear it.
I do too.
I hear it too. They're in there. We'll find a way to get him out.
We've been over this.
Something protected you.
I don't know what.
What was different about that day?
Nothing.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
And in the play, you can't remember anything other than those 4 words, the play's not over?
I would tell you. It's all blank.
Angela, the people in the theater are running out of time. I need a favor.
What?
When you get out of here tomorrow, I want you to come with me.
No.
I'll be right with you.
I can't.
My guess is when you walk back in there, you're gonna remember what happened. Let's go over the performance day one last time.
It was a typical Friday. Math, biology, English, social studies, PE, Toastmasters.
What you said is after school at the Y.
Yeah?
Are you a good speaker?
No, that's why I'm in Toastmasters. I can't even remember the speech because my head gets all light and my chest tightens up. Oh.
What?
It was my day to speak. My dad's an internist. He gave me a pill, Indrol. It just stops the adrenaline from flowing so I can breathe normal.
You took a pill that blocks adrenaline?
No, I took 3.
Fear isn't rational. Scary movies make us wince, even though there's nothing that could come through that screen and hurt us. If anything, it's theater that should be scary.
Unsent email from Malcolm J. the afternoon of his death.
The attack is so simple. Farnock says, "Can I tell you a secret?" The victim says yes, and that's a mistake. Because they think of all the scary things that the secret could be. The Farnock whispers something. A small extension from one of their incisors punctures the eardrum, drains every bit of adrenaline from the victim's body, and then they fall unconscious. These things frighten me. I study them, but I study them at a distance. They're right at the border between the monsters who we pretend scare us and the people who actually do.
Theater cameras 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Final recording.
You can do this!
Who's there?
It's us, Detective H, and you remember Angela? You carried her out of here.
Yes. Are you all right?
No,
Being here takes time to get used to.
I know almost every face.
You can help them. If you can only remember what happened, that can make the difference.
Are they all still alive?
We are giving them water, nutrients, but soon that's not going to be enough.
Can you leave us alone for just a bit?
I'll be in back. There's more of us back there if you need us.
Do you remember where you were sitting?
Right where I am now.
I want you to think about the days leading up to the play. There are posters all over the school.
Yeah, they said don't tell the secret. Then they changed and they said, "Can I tell you a secret?"
Good. Then on the last day, the posters changed again. They added the title of the play. Do you remember that?
No.
You don't know the title of the play?
I don't.
It might help to get up on stage.
No.
Just come up here with me. This is where they found you. You made a phone call from up here. Do you remember it?
I don't.
What's the last thing you remember about that night?
I was running from the parking lot. I was late because of Toastmasters, but it seemed I didn't have to worry because there was some kind of electrical problem that kept us all in the lobby.
Angela, come up here with me. I won't let anything hurt you. This is where they found you. Take a deep breath. Lower your head and close your eyes. When I count to 3, lift your head and open your eyes. 1, 2, 3.
911. What is your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
I'm sending someone. More than one. There's cars already on the way. What's your name, Chica?
Angela.
Angela. I'm sending them to the Oak Box. Is that right?
Yes.
And there's a playground. My high school is doing a school play. Is that where you are?
Yeah.
In the theater.
Yes.
And somebody's hurt?
Everybody.
Who's that again? Where are you in the theater?
I'm just standing on the stage.
Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
Angela, what were you thinking about?
The end. Calling for help, knowing it was too late.
I want you to look at something. This is the program from that night. That's the title of the play. Trapped. What's wrong?
It was right in front of us.
What was?
It should have been obvious. The play was a trap. It was even called Trap. The play was in sections. Section 1, A Picture of Infinity. Section 2, The Oak Box. Section 3, What Held Them. What held us? Something happened in a theater at a high school play. Everyone in the audience had fallen unconscious.
But what happened in the play? What was the story about?
That is what it was about.
In the play you were watching, people had fallen over unconscious in the theater?
Yeah, it was mostly interviews, like a documentary. Everyone had fallen over except one girl.
What happened to them?
There were these creatures, things that looked human, but they weren't. They were called Faronauts. They attacked the audience, one by one, and then all at once.
Those are just creatures in a play. They're not real.
Yes, they are.
I promise you they're not.
They confuse people. The play was about all the things that were about to happen to us. So when they did happen, we didn't know what was real and what wasn't.
Creatures who feed on fear and put on plays, it's ridiculous.
Sounding like the ridiculous is how they hide.
Even if they were real, they're not here now. Take a very deep breath. Hold it.
Stay away from me.
What's wrong?
Who's here? Who's in the theater?
Are you all right? I think we're okay. Should we leave?
No, I just got freaked out.
This place can do that. Do you want me to stay?
Please, for a little bit.
Tell me more about these creatures.
In the final section of the play, which was also called Trap, Fahrenheit 7 to attack.
Attack the audience?
Yeah.
What happened tonight?
One of the girls in the story, she walked down into the audience and she was narrating what she was doing. She stopped in front of a boy and asked, "Can I tell you a secret?" She leaned down and the boy fell out of his chair, unconscious. Then she moved a few rows up and did it again. "Can I tell you a secret?" The girl nodded, she leaned down and "Can I tell you a secret?"
There was something we couldn't understand at first. If a Fahrenheit attack depends on anxiety, then why were these people falling over? They didn't think it was real, so they should have been safe. What those people were worried about wasn't death. It was that one of the actors would whisper in their ear and they wouldn't know what to do. They had stage fright, which as it turns out, that's just as fatal as the fear of death.
By the time she got to me, I was scared. She whispered to me and nothing happened.
You could have taken the hinder off. Yeah. How many people have come over by then?
A lot.
Why didn't anyone just get up and leave?
They thought it was part of the performance. Some guy's cell phone had gone off. When we looked at the program, he was labeled as cell phone guy. Can I tell you a secret?
Stop! Stop the play!
Who's that?
My name is Kenosha R. Silverling Johnson. Everybody, listen up. In a calm and orderly manner, leave the theater. You have to leave the theater for your own safety. There's a small child trapped in a car in the parking lot, so you'll all have to check to make sure it's not your car.
Worst liar in the entire world.
Please, leave!
They think you're part of the play.
You're the one playing me.
Yes?
You're not human.
What am I then?
A Fahrenheit. You're human, and you are. Stay away from them. Now, will you leave?
They think you're part of the play because you are part of the play.
No, I'm not.
Then why are you in the program?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Right here, it says no promotion.
This is a trick.
There's a part of the play where you get chased in the woods.
You made up a whole part of the play in case I came back during the attack.
That's in the script.
There is no script.
Right here.
That's not real. This is a trap.
It's a high school play.
The perfect trap. Everybody has to come and nobody's allowed to leave. They feed on anxiety. You've only lost a few so far, but that'll change fast. The lights will go out and you'll hear a crazy loud noise. And their eyes will light up as they start to feed.
There's nothing you can do that'll get them out of their chairs.
I don't have to get them out of their chairs. I just have to get rid of you.
Good luck.
I've been hiding in the theater the whole time, preparing for a surprise.
What's the surprise?
If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise. Everybody, they're feeding under stress. So smile, relax yourself from the outside in. Now take a huge breath. Do it. And relax. I promise you will not be called out as part of this performance. What's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Then why are you wilting?
We're acting. Stop! I want to tell you a secret.
No.
If you let me tell you a secret, I'll wake up the rest of the audience. I believe it.
I don't believe you.
Your only chance to save them is to believe me. Can I tell you a secret?
Stop smiling. Go ahead.
Can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret?
you a secret? I took 4 in a row. Surprise!
Too bad you lost your book. And everyone out there still thinks this is called a play.
Everyone but one. Mom?
I'm here, sweetheart.
Now.
That was the sound I heard that night. The sound of all the people being freed. The best scream you can imagine.
25 days after the events in the Oak Box began, they came to an end.
My name's Angela Lure. I lived through the Menachat Faranock attack.
My name's Clifton Barnes. I survived being in the play.
Mara Aoki. I'm alive because of Kenosha R. Silverling Johnson.
Kenosha saved my life.
My whole family was in the theater that night.
Thank you, Kenosha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The people that fell unconscious that night had no memory of what happened, but it changed them. I published 3 papers.
I got a medal.
I got a promotion.
I got afraid.
I got Kenosha.
For a few weeks last year, the town of Menachat, California became famous. But the fame went away fast. What had happened seemed impossible. Psychologists wrote it off as an example of mass hysteria. People getting scared in a place that already scared them.
I lived through it and even I'm not sure. Was it real or was it like the eye in the peephole thing? Most scared I've ever been, and it was just me scaring me.
everybody, the play's not over. The play's not over.
Oh no, I don't know.
The main thing about a trap is, it needs to confuse the prey. Why would a play have a false ending? What's real? What's not?
I'm so sorry for the delay. We're having some trouble with the lights.
The prey is most vulnerable when it thinks it's escaped.
The spider's not home.
The web almost breaks.
I'm almost out of the woods.
It was just me scaring me.
Recursion, a high school play about a high school play. An audience being attacked while watching a play about an audience being attacked.
You'll say to an audience, "You're going to die," and they'll stay in their seats because they don't want to miss it.
All Faranox are 16 years old.
Except one.
People are naturally scared of the dark.
Can I tell you a secret?
Can I tell you a secret?
Can I tell you a secret?
In the distance, a foghorn is comforting. It tells you you're safe. But if you hear it loud, it's terrifying. You're too close.
Can I tell you a secret?
It's too late.